Hello, I'm Allan from Deloitte Consulting, coming to you today from New York and the biggest gathering of the digital asset management community of the year. And with me is Jack Rowley of Fred Rogers Productions, one of the leaders here at the conference, sharing his stories and experiences of DAM. Jack, welcome.
Thank you
for joining us.
It's good to be here.
And maybe start off sharing a little bit about what kinds of assets you're managing. What's your collection?
We are predominantly video assets. Being a production company, we had 1,000 episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and the Children's Corner, which was a show that he did before that in the 50s, and a show that he did in Canada. There were about 104 episodes of that. So right out of the gate, we had like close to 1,200 video assets, and that's predominantly what we have. We also have images and some audio files and some documents, but mainly it's video centric.
So it sounds like you have a lot of history. How do you go about collecting metadata for assets that might be as much as 50 years old?
We have slides and negatives from the run of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and that was from 1968 to 2001. And once those were digitized, I contacted David Newell and Hedda Sherapin, who had been with the series since it began, and they were able to, in Zoom calls, we looked at them together, and they were able to, in many cases, determine who the photographer was, who the people were in the photos, and where they were shot, what the location was. And that cleared up some right issues, or at least opened the door to start clearing up rights issues. And it gave me such great metadata that would make those images suddenly searchable, findable and usable. And I mean, they were just great. David and we would look at an image and David would say, that's Phil Davis. He was a stage manager in 1973. His son works at Alibaba restaurant. Doesn't really like it so much, but it pays the bills. And you just get so much information, not that it would all go into the DAM, but there was just a matter of we would record the Zoom meetings and then I would go back later and then just type like crazy and just get as much metadata as I could connected to that asset.
And as well as historical, you have ongoing current productions. How do you go about harvesting information, content, the files themselves, and the metadata for current shows?
Well, I recruited a representative from each of our shows that are currently in production, and they've been great. I mean, they have, because they have such a deep knowledge of their particular show, they're able to give me great keywords and descriptions, and I know that is only going to benefit us for searching for, and those who search down the line.
And you have some interesting new technologies available to you, things like artificial intelligence. How has that helped you build a better DAM?
Well, AI is supposedly, allegedly, what's the good word? Okay, AI has been said to be about 80% accurate, and that's really, and I think that's true, and that's really good news for someone in a small company with one digital asset manager, because starting with 80% is much easier than jumping into the mix and starting from scratch. Mm-hmm. So AI is doing some heavy lifting for me.
Heavy lifting, excellent. Yes. Use the technology. How broadly used is DAM across your organization? What sorts of roles are using DAM?
Well, we have about 35 employees. We're not large, but we average about 30 unique visitors a month, which is a really good ratio. Marketing people use it to find specific assets that will help promote an upcoming episode that's about to air. And the social media person will go to the DAM and search for a clip that they can connect to upcoming holidays. Like, for example, tomorrow is National Collect Rocks Day. So going on to the DAM, our social media person could search that and would be able to find an episode of Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, mm-hmm. where Prince Wednesday is showing off his rather extensive rock collection. And they could take that clip and, if they so chose, put it on our social media sites. And production, I think production likes that we only have final assets on the DAM, and that's by choice, because we wanted to, well, it's for two reasons, for economic reasons, but mainly it was to make sure that everything that was on the DAM would be the final version, so there would be no chance of using an outdated logo or outdated video that wasn't the final as produced episode. And So that's used by production a lot. And producers will often, when they're bringing on new writers, will have create a portal inside the dam where they'll pull out specific episodes that they feel best reflect the heart of the series, and so to inspire new writers. Our fundraising people will go into the dam looking for moments from our shows that will relate to certain foundations. For example, there were math moments in our shows, Pig Plus Cat and Odd Squad, and they could pull moments out from that if they were approaching a foundation that was, say, STEM oriented. Our licensing, we had a licensing partner who had a very specific vision of what he wanted the Mr. Rogers jigsaw puzzle to look like. He wanted to see Fred Rogers in a purple sweater, even though he most of the time wore red, holding the King Friday puppet and standing in front of the neighborhood of make-believe castle. Well, thanks to the magic of metadata, we were able to find that, all of that, with the added bonus of having the neighborhood trolley in the foreground. So, success with that. And it also, for new employees, I think it's much more effective to send a new employee onto the dam and route them to defining videos showing who you are, rather than having people memorize a mission statement. I think it's much more affecting to show this is who we are and this is who we aspire to be.
So you're describing some fairly sophisticated use cases and user cases. How do you train staff? How do you engage staff? How do you get them to a level where they're using the tool at such a sophisticated level?
Well, I do this thing, and I don't know if I heard it here at the Henry Stewart events or if I read it, but it's a fun way to sort of engage staff to use the dam, and it's called a dam scavenger hunt. And it's you provide a clue, and I do this at our monthly all-staff meetings, and you give staff a clue and then challenge them to go out and find the answer. For example, last month's clue was people, some of you may know that Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, was colorblind, but did you also know that one of the characters on our show, on one of our series, is colorblind? Name the series, the character, and the episode where this information is imparted. And then when you go on the dam, you can find that it's episode 101, and it's actually Daniel Tiger is colorblind, and he talks about this in episode 101 of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So that's been a fun way to get people, and we get about 2/3 of the staff going on the dam and looking, which is, I think, just very encouraging.
So I think that's remarkable. I think dam scavenger hunt is brilliant.
Well, I didn't invent it, but I do. I do like it, and I think people like, they kind of look forward to what are we looking for this month.
Well, perhaps that's a tip that our audience can take back home. Thank you very much for sharing your story and your experiences here today. I think it is time for us to head back to the conference now and perhaps do our own little scavenger hunt for Dan. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Graham.